Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think we'll start. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjanarandana Yashoda Nandana Vrajjanarandana Yamana Tira Vanachari Yamana Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajjanarandana Yashoda Nandana Vrajjanarandana Ramana Tira Vanachari Ramana Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare जयो राधा दामोदर राधा दामोदर श्री राधे जयो ललिता विशाखा ललिता विशाखा श्री राधे जयो निताय गौर सुंदर निताय गौर सुंदर गौरा हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल Hare Krishna everyone. Hare Krishna to all the devotees online, Tarka Prabhu, Lila Kishori, Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhu, the devotees behind the altar who are addressing the deities. And I don't know if the devotees in the cow barn are there too, but I'm very happy to be here. I am a substitute speaker. The main speaker asked me to become a substitute. So please, all the complaints go to the main speaker. If there are any from today's class, do through Maharaj Prabhu, okay? No complaints should come to me because I was the last minute substitute teacher. But I'm very happy to be here with everyone and seeking your permission to discuss and relish this particular verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter number 9, verse number 35. If anyone would like to recite the verse, please feel free to recite. And I'll recite first. अथा तत्र भवान् किं देवदत्तवत् गुणा विसर्गापतितः परन्तन्तरेण स्वाकृता कुशलका कुशलं फलम् उपाददाति अहोस्वेद् आत्माराम उपासमाशिलः समञ्जसा दर्शन उदष्टा इति हवा न विदामः. One more time. अथा तत्र भवान् किं देवदत्तावद् इह गुणविसर्गापतितः परन्तन्तरेण स्वाकृता कुशला अकुशलं फलम् उपाददाति अहोस्वेद् आत्मनाम् उपसमाशिलः समञ्जसा दर्शना उदाष्टा इति हवावाना विदामः. Word to word translation. Athaha, therefore, tatra, in that, Bhavan, your lordship, Kim, whether, Devadattavat, like an ordinary human being, forced by the fruits of his activities, Iha, in this material world, Guna Visarga Patitaha, fallen in a material body, impelled by the modes of material nature. Paratantrayena, by dependence on the conditions of time, space, activity, and nature. Swakrita, executed by oneself. Kushala, auspicious. Akushalam, inauspicious. Phalam, results of action. Upadadati, accepts. Ahush, with all. Atmaramaha, completely self-satisfied. Upasamashila, self-controlled in nature. Samanjasa darshanaha, not deprived of full spiritual potencies. Udaste remains neutral as the witness. Iti does. Ha va, certainly. Na vidamaha, we do not understand. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. These are our inquiries. The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws. and he thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body produced by the material modes? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or, on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness who is self sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? We certainly cannot understand your actual position. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he descends to this material world for two purposes, namely, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam, to relieve the devotees and kill demons or non-devotees. These two kinds of actions are the same for the absolute truth. When the Lord comes to punish the demons, he bestows his favor upon them. And similarly, when he delivers his devotees and gives them relief, he also bestows his favor. Thus, the Lord bestows his favor equally upon the conditioned souls. When a conditioned soul gives relief to others, he acts as piously. He acts piously. When he gives troubles to others, he acts impiously. But the Lord is neither pious nor impious. He is always full in his spiritual potency, by which he shows equal mercy to the punishable and the protectable. The Lord is called Apapa Vidham. He is never contaminated by the reactions of so called sinful activities. When Krishna was present on this earth, he killed many inimical non devotees, but they all received sarupya. In other words, they returned to their original spiritual bodies. One who does not know the Lord's position says that God is unkind to them but merciful to others. Actually, the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9 chapter verse number 29, Samo aham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyo asti na priyaha. I am equal to everyone. No one is my enemy and no one is my friend. But he also says, Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maitateshu cha api aham. If one becomes my devotee and fully surrenders unto me, I give him special attention. उमज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वान्तिकम् हे कृष्णा करुणसिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रियै जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा शिव साधि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. These are our inquiries. The ordinary conditioned soul is subject to the material laws and he thus receives the fruits of his actions. Does your lordship, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body produced by the material modes? Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness who is self-sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? We certainly cannot understand your actual position. So we're reading from 6th canto, chapter number 9, where we are reading the appearance of the demon called Vritasasura. And this is a prayer which is offered by the demigods when the Lord appears in his four-handed form with his 16 consorts around him serving him as a reward to the austerities and the petition that the demigods put in forth of the Lord to save them from the impending danger from the demon which has appeared from the sacrifice. Now, this prayer is very unique because this prayer is mostly looking like a question. Generally, when we pray, we are glorifying, right? Prayer has a part of glorification, then prayer has a part of request, and then there is again a glorification of the Lord. Like Krishna, you are so supreme, you're so powerful. Please give me devotional service so that I can take shelter in your lotus feet. So, which is ever so protecting to the devotees. So this is something like a prayer, like sandwiched. There's a glorification, there's a request, and then there's a glorification. But in this particular verse, what we are reading, what is unique or what struck out to me was this is more like a question: are you really God? Are you, we certainly cannot understand your actual position. This sounds in one context to me like, okay, Krishna has actually appeared, and the demigods are feeling transcendental happiness in their heart, but they're putting forth this question that do you actually appear in the material world like a human being? Do you also go through the cycle of enjoyment or suffering under the good or bad results of your action, under the time factor, under the past work, or so forth? Or do you just behave like a neutral witness who is Atmana and who is always filled with happiness, spiritual happiness? So, one reason that can be done is that the demigods actually want Lord to speak. Demigod actually want affirmation. Yes, they know, but then, when you want someone to speak, you put forward the questions like this. Prabhupada is giving a very interesting understanding in the purport. Prabhupada is starting the purport by saying that Krishna appears in this material world for two purposes: Parityanaya sadhanam, vinashaya cha dushkrita. So to kill the demons and to protect the sadhus. But actually, he is non-dual. Because if he's killing the demon is getting actually mercy, his mercy. And if he's protecting the devotee, then the devotee is also getting his mercy. So in both the cases, it's a win-win situation because they both are getting mercy. But a conditioned soul, as conditioned soul, if I am talking to someone and then that person gets uplifted, then I'm acting piously. But I am doing some activity by which the other person gets troubled, then I'm acting impiously. So there is a duality, but it doesn't exist in Krishna. So how do we understand that it's non-dual, but the world is full of duality? But then there's an element which is non-dual, but we are in duality. So we don't have that experience of non-duality. So Prabhupada explains this is called axiomatic truth. Axiomatic truth is you just accept it without questioning because you can't experiment it, you can't test it. Like Prabhupada gives example in the introduction of Upanishad. If you read, it said the bone of an animal is untouchable. Right? If somebody touches the bone of an animal, immediately they have to take bath. But conch shell is purified. We use it. Okay, now the stool is untouchable. It's full of infection. But cow dung is pure, which is also a stool of the cow. Now, these are axiomatic truths. You accept it because the Vedic literature is saying it. So you accept it because of the authority. Like that, we can accept that Krishna is non-dual, even though we are surrounded by duality everywhere, inside and outside, everywhere. How I have a dual body, I have a material body and a spiritual body. Okay, then whatever I'm going to do with that body which is made of duality is going to be dual unless and until all my actions are actually directed towards the service of a non-dual, which is Krishna. So we are in a very confusing state of life. If somebody says I'm confused in my life, I have started to believe that person that yes, I am also very confused in my life because there is this perplexity everywhere. But I want to bring up this. No, if Krishna is non-dual, then Krishna must also be non-partial, right? Otherwise, how can we say that, oh, why did this happen to me? And good things are happening to the other person, and I am suffering. So we can blame God for that, right? Because we don't see the reason. But according to Krishna, when Krishna speaks about himself, his position about this question in Bhagavad Gita, he says, I'm equal to everyone. No one is my enemy and no one is my friend. But then he says, if one becomes my devotee and fully surrendered unto me, I give him special attention. So is there a partiality here or no? Because it sounds to me, on one sentence he's saying, I'm no one's enemy and no one's friend. But on the next sentence he says, but if you become my devotee, I give you special attention. Actually, if you read the commentary of this verse by Baldev Vidyabhushan, Thakur Prabhupada in Gita Bhushan, Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhupada writes that Krishna indeed is partial. But his partiality is not at the cost of giving trouble. He is partial to his to because if he is not partial, this is what he explains, then a non-devotee will never be able to understand the position of a devotee. If he is not partial in that way. So basically, our definition of partiality is that I am doing favor to someone and I'm ignoring someone, right? And that's the partiality. And that is the definition of partiality that we go around with in this world. But Krishna is not fitting into any definitions of the material world. Right? Krishna is not of this world, even though he created the world. So this definition of partiality does not fit on him. That is why here it says non-partial, because he is bestowing the mercy to everyone. But the special attention is given to a devotee that is also a mercy to a non-devotee in the way that a non-devotee will be able to understand the position of a devotee of Krishna only if it is higher than their own position. It's not partial, it's a mercy hidden in that particular way. So Baldev Vidyabhushan Prabhupada explains in Gita Bhushan that we can say that Krishna indeed is partial, but it's not partial because he is putting the devotee at a higher position to give inspiration to everyone else. But in his personal accord, he's loving everyone. His heart is filled with love. I couldn't make much slides because of the time lag, but I want to share. Let's see what is happening in this particular verse. There are two questions being posed. Does your lordship, this is number one, like an ordinary human being, exist within this material world in a body produced by the material modes? This is what demigods are asking in Srimad Bhagavatam. If Krishna has already answered this in Bhagavad Gita, he says, 9th chapter, verse 11, Avajananti mama mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mam bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. So he's already declared that if we are thinking Krishna descending in a human form is also a human being like me in a dual existence, then that person is called as fool. Like so, Buddha person is called Buddha. So he has established that my form is transcendental, and it is dominion to everyone else, to everything else, even the material modes of nature. Then the demigods are putting forth the second question to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do you enjoy or suffer the good or bad results of actions under the influence of time, past work, and so forth? Or, on the contrary, are you present here only as a neutral witness who is self sufficient, free from all material desires, and always full of spiritual potency? Please tell us, right? We cannot understand. Now, Krishna answers this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 23. Upadrishta anumanta cha bharata bhukta maheshwara paramatmati cha api yukto dehe asmin purusha paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the supersoul. Upadrishta Anumanta Cha. Upadrishta means overseeing, Anumanta means permitting. So he has established himself as an overseer and a permitter, but he is not going to take part in the enjoyment or suffering of a conditioned soul under the spells of modes of material nature by virtue of the fruitive activities. So Prabhupada is also referring in the purport that we read today that Krishna indeed is Shuddham, Papa Vidham. Right, when he's explaining that when Krishna is killing a non-devotee or protecting a devotee, he's actually bestowing his mercy on both. So that way, Krishna is all good, so all attractive, and he's actually very, very pure. Shuddha means pure. This appears in Isopnishad verse number 8, where Shababad explains to confirm that the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated. Sri Ishupnishad describes him as Shuddham, pure, antiseptic in all circumstances. He is often compared to the sun, which extracts moisture from many untouchable places on earth, yet it remains pure. In fact, it purifies obnoxious things by virtue of its sterilizing power. So that's the closest example of Shuddham that we can get in this material world, the sun. But Krishna can actually free us from all our miseries, from all our impediments to go to Him, right? To go to Him. That's the prayer you must have read in a chapter before, right? 6, Canto 8 chapter, the Narayan Kavach, the first prayer. Om Hari Vidyan, Mama Sarva Raksham, Nyashtangri Patagrinda Prashte, Darari Charma Shugadeshu Chapa, Dadhanasta Gunuvasta Baho. The Supreme Lord who sits on the back of the bird Garud, holding 8 weapons, may he always give me protection. So he can actually give the protection. Then apapa vidham, he is free from all kinds of sinful activities. Prabhupada explains if a person if a conditioned soul is not giving trouble to someone, then they're acting piously. But if they are acting in such a way that gives trouble to someone, then they're acting impiously. But Krishna is apapa vidham. No, nothing is impious or pious, no sin. What does that mean? So in Isupnishad verse 8, Prabhupada explains this. Even if he acts in a way that appears to be sinful, his actions are all good. There is no question of him being affected by sin. The Lord is also called Apapavidham. The sin cannot touch him. Prophylactic. He is antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association. So when Krishna is killing Kans in Mathura, he's not going to be subjected to the laws of the jurisdiction because it's not sinful. Okay, when Krishna is dancing with the gopis in the middle of the night, he's not going to be charged with any kind of I guess charges because it is not sinful because it is very purifying. So it is very difficult to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities unless and until an acharya or guru, sadhu, and shastra principle makes us understand. Once we had this discussion, morality and spirituality, are they same or not? In the sense that morality and spirituality. So because the general tendency of the public is that if somebody is spiritual, they will be highly moral too, right? They will uphold the standards of morality. They will actually take the level of morality to a different level, to different standard, or increase the standard. But but I give you 2 examples. or two avenues of discussion on this. Okay. So Prabhupada says in the pastime of Narsimha Dev, when Narsimha Dev has killed Hiranyakashipu and he is very angry, he has ripped open his abdomen and he is taking out his intestines. He's putting it as a garland around his neck and he's drinking his blood. What is Prahlad Maharaj doing at the time? He's standing right next to Narsimha Dev with a garland in his hand to garland the Lord. My dear Lord, very good thing. You've killed my father, very good thing. So Prabhupada puts this question in the lecture. I heard that, is that moral? Is that moral? If somebody comes and kills your father, you are going to garland that person. Is that moral? You will say at least, no, oh, don't kill my father, you seek help. But here we see Prahlad Maharaj standing with a garland. So, but this is the highest level of bhakti. See, and then the other example is, of course, I'm not qualified to talk, but I'll just mention, is the example of the gopis leaving their household chores, leaving everything just to go and be with Krishna on hearing his flute. Right. So, in a normal way, it is not moral. It's not moral for women to leave their homes, their children, their husbands, their everything in the middle of the night and go to a third person. Uh, but uh, but but the it is very, very spiritual. It is very, very, it's the highest level of bhakti. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the topmost sannyasi, adores that level of bhakti. So in that way, morality and spirituality uh, are not always in alignment by our definition. Okay, we have built these paradigms around us by our definition. So much so that I discussed that Krishna is saying he's non-partial. But in the second line of the same verse, he's saying, but I give special attention to my devotee. So by our definition, it appears he's partial. But he is declaring himself to be non-partial. How? Because we have built these paradigms around us and we want to understand God by bringing him within the paradigms of our understanding of this dual world, but he's not dual. So the demigods I put for these questions in terms of clarifying this. I'll give you one more example of partiality and morality and spirituality. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada gives the definition of the highest level of bhakti, right? He says, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, nectar of devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He gives, this is the highest level of bhakti. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Adi Anavritam, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam, Bhaktir Uttama. All right, so there's a little bit of a discussion. So Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. I won't go in detail, I'll just touch. Okay, so it's like a flavoring on the top of the food. So Anya Abhilashita Shunya means what? That there's no other desire. Shunya means void. Okay, Anya Abhilasha means desire. Anya means any other. So any other desire is not allowed, void. Jnana Karma Adi Anavritam. Jnana, a knowledge, karma is activity, adi, etc., anavritam, free from it. Okay, but jnana and karma are allowed, but they're allowed only to the extent that it actually feeds the line above. That, okay, I'm not going to develop any other desire. So that much activity and knowledge is allowed. Then anukulana Krishna anushilanam. So any bhakti, any activity which is actually anukul or which is actually favorable to the spirit personality of Godhead, bhaktir uttama. That's uttama bhakti. So there are some examples that you see if we study. I heard this from Bhanu Maharaj. If we study the life of Hiranyakashipu, basically that fellow, basically he gave up his body. He's offered his body to Narasimha Dev for him to relish, to enjoy, and to display his anger. Right, Hiranyakashipu has done that. Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha is one of the three lives of Vijay Vijay, right, from Vaikuntha. But is that bhakti? Is the question. Is that bhakti? Because in bhakti, we say that we give mind, body, words to Krishna, but he has given his body to Krishna. But is that bhakti? And then there's another example. It's not bhakti, right? It's not bhakti. Why? Okay, now I mean, the understanding will develop with the second example. The second example is that Mother Yashoda in Damodar Leela has picked up a stick and she's running behind Krishna to make him fearful. She's not intending to hit him anytime, but the action is such that I am going to catch you, and today is you're going to be you're going to be spammed. So I'm going to hit you today because you have done such a big hassle in the house. So, and interrupted my service to you. So, is that bhakti? No, running behind Krishna with a stick and making him run in front with fear and tears in his eyes, and he's breathing heavily, his earrings are shaking. Is that bhakti? So, out of the two examples, I think we all will agree that Mother Yashoda's uh, running behind Krishna is bhakti. But what makes that bhakti, where she is running behind Krishna with a stick, and what makes Hiranyakashipu's sacrifice of his body to Narsimha Dev so that he can display his anger, not bhakti? The difference is anukulena Krishna Nishilam. So anukul, whatever pleases Krishna the most, that's bhakti. Okay, so that Krishna is more pleased with the Mother Yashoda's running behind him with a stick than Hiranyakashipu's sacrifice. So Krishna is the deciding factor that what is bhakti. So that way, when we say that partial or impartial, or pious or impious, or moral or spiritual, or good or bad, Krishna is completely, what does it say? First canto, first chapter, first verse, Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada explains, Abhigyana Swarat, completely independent. He is completely independent and he doesn't want to fit in these paradigms. So he wants us to understand what it is. So in that way, if we understand this particular verse that the prayer that the demigods have put forth to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it makes a lot of sense. Right? It makes a lot of sense by asking Krishna himself that do you exist in this material world as an ordinary human being which has a body which is produced by material modes? Or do you also enjoy or suffer the results of our past karma under the factor of time or work or so forth? Or are you neutral witness and you're Atmaram and you have no desires because all your desires are always filled at all times? Okay, so we studied the paradigm of duality and non-duality and trying to bring Krishna in our paradigm of duality and trying to understand him from that lens. Not going to work. We also discussed that apapa vidham, Krishna is not affected by pious or impious activity because he is shuddham and apapa vidham. We also discussed a little bit about the difference between spirituality and morality. And also, is Krishna partial or is he impartial? I think I'll stop here for a little bit of a discussion, question, reflection, realization, and all the complaints go to Dhruva Maharaj Prabhu. Okay. Hi, Krishna. I don't know if I'm audible to the devotees in Zoom. Hi, Krishna, everyone. Tarka Prabhu, would you like to please take the class?
Hare Krishna. It's delightful to hear from you. Once again, it's been a while. I always enjoy your classes. Yeah, we're hearing you loud and clear. I'm trying to formulate a question or a comment here. I'm still digesting what you've said, but there is a question on my mind which is loosely related, and you may be able to help me with this. I've just been thinking about the role of Paramatma, um, who is variously described in Shastra and by our acharyas, but and sometimes described as an impartial witness. But Paramatma is much more than just a witness. He has many roles. Um, he is a well-wishing friend. He is satisfying our desires. He's directing the wanderings of all living entities. For the devotees, he is a teacher. Um, there are many different functions, and I don't know if you have given this much thought, but I would love to hear more, if possible, about the role of Paramatma.
So Tharkar is asking uh, the role of Paramatma in our heart. He very nicely portrayed that Paramatma has many roles. I think you answered your question, right? Tharkar Prabhu said Paramatma has many roles. He's a well-wishing friend. He's overseer. He's permitter. He's uh, transmigrating. He's allowing the transmigration of the soul from one body to another. So what specifically are you like, if I may clarify, because it sounds to me that you have already answered your question and there is no question to that question what you answered.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could add something, um,
Yeah.
because there's a lot to understand, really. I mentioned a few points, but there's just there's a lot to understand about Paramatma, and I'm trying to broaden my understanding. Um, um, Paramatma does not display all of the characteristics of Krishna himself. Um, Krishna has unique properties, but nonetheless, Paramatma is full of all kinds of transcendental qualities, and he has all kinds of activities. Um, the Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, is also the same. Um, he is the same Vishnu who resides um, on Svetadvip, uh, in the ocean of milk. It's the same. Um, Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the same personality that is present in the heart. Uh, if I'm not mistaken, but that's my understanding, that it is Kshirodakshai Vishnu who is expanded into the hearts of all living entities. And so he has activities that are um, in, involving those living entities in whose heart he is residing. And then he has other activities that are independent of those living entities. He has his own abode where he has all kinds of activities.
Yeah.
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read of his pastimes with the demigods, for example. So all kinds of activity. He's much more than just an impartial witness. Um, but I'm trying to
Really.
broaden my understanding I've never really done an in-depth study of Paramatma, but I'm trying to get a clearer understanding. So he is realized by, in particular, I guess, the Gyanis. He is the ultimate destination of the Gyanis. The bhaktas go beyond realization of Paramatma, but not to the exclusion of such realization. Their realization is just greater than that. So, but I'm not 100% clear, and I thought maybe you could shed a little light or add a few things, possibly.
First, I would like to clarify, Tarka Prabhu, that I will always be in a position to learn from you and not add anything onto what you will always say. That will always be the case. Second is, what I can say will always be lower than what I can hear and learn from you. But I don't know the objective reference, but subjectively from the heart, if I have to speak, what really comes to my awareness is this is really funny. So when we file taxes every year, there's a category, right? We have to choose under what category are you filing the taxes. So the category that most of us file under is head of the household, right? So, okay, so the head of the household includes everything that you're going to be the breadwinner, you're going to be the caretaker, you are going to claim your dependence. So, right, there's so many other things that goes along when you go along the document. So, like that, Krishna is like the head of the household. If I subjectively from my heart speak without giving any objective reference to your thing, so he is the head of the household. He is going to play many roles, and but he's not going to play all the roles at all the times. It's going to be displayed when it is needed. Like that quality is a little bit displayed in our life as well. That I am going to act as a friend to a friend. I'm going to act as a professional to a professional. I'm going to act, I'm going to, show my vulnerability to here, or I'm going to show my strength here, or I'm going to lie over here, like that. So Krishna is definitely, I agree with you 100% that Krishna or Paramatma in his Paramatma feature has many roles to play. But my subjective understanding is that it's not going to be played all the roles at all the times. It's going to depend on, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam satheva pajami aham." Like as one surrenders unto me, tam satheva pajami aham, I display myself. So as we surrender, we get more of the realization. But the bottom line, which I have realized, two things in Srila Prabhupada's preaching. And of course, I'm happy to hear what you have to say after that. One thing is, Prabhupada has said that the foundation of Krishna consciousness is the love between the soul and Krishna. So Krishna, he is loving in his Paramatma feature so much that even if I become, no, I hope not, but even if I become a worm in a stool, he's going to come with me. He's not going to leave me. That's the potency of that love. It's not going to leave me. Even if I turn my face away or if I just throw a tantrum, is not leaving me. So he is going to play the role at different times, at different avenues, from what I'm understanding. And also, Prabhupada said the second thing, that if it is not simple, it is not Krishna conscious. So if I keep on making my understanding complex, then I'm going away from the instructions. But I do agree that he is the head of the household. He does have many roles to play, and the roles are going to be played in context to what is happening in that particular scenario of for that particular conditioned soul. The relationship is so individual. I don't know if I blabbered anything.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm really intrigued. Um, it's just fascinating to me that we actually have um, sometimes I guess mostly it's imperceptible to us, at least I can speak for myself that I'm riding on this machine of material energy, and beside me in my heart somewhere is um, Shiradakshay Vishnu. That's extraordinary. That's an extraordinary thing. Quite a thing to think about, and what to speak of realizing that. But um, I'm I don't know. It's just very intriguing to me. I just really want to know more about that. Krishna is so near, and but yet so distant because I'm so covered. Um, anyway, another another thing is on my mind today, um, and I don't know if you are equipped to speak anything on this, but today is the appearance day of uh, Sri Lochana Das Thakur, and he is quite an extraordinary personality, very important acharya uh, for us. And um, uh, can you tell us anything about him?
I'll have to go back and refresh my memory. It's been a while I read about Lochan Das Thakur Prabhupada. He's a very intimate. Um, in the first Adi Leela, is it chapter 9, where the associates, the branches and sub branches of the Chaitanya tree are described? That's where he comes. Why don't you tell me? I can, but I'll have to go and refresh my memory. I don't want to go by speculation.
Well, a few thoughts come to my mind, and they're a little disjointed, but I came upon a quote from Lochana Das Thakur from he is the author of Chaitanya Mangala, which is a wonderful narration of some of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. The other two primary biographers of Lord Chaitanya are, of course, Krishnadas Kaviraj and oh Krishna. Now my memory is failing me. I'm having another senior moment here. Um, who was the other biographer? Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, um, who was responsible for Chaitanya Bhagavat. Anyway, so there is one quote from Chaitanya Mangala that demonstrates something of the transcendental character of um, Lochana Das Thakur. He says, "My hope of hopes is to be near the lotus feet of Sri Narottam Das Thakur and serve him with my very life. The cherished desire of the fallen Lochana Das is to be allowed by Narahari's grace to sing the glories of Lord Gauranga. My Lord is Sri Narahari Thakur. I am his servant. Bowing before him, I beg for his service. This is my only aspiration." Um,
So nice.
There is, let's see here. There is, let me see if I can find this. There's another wonderful quote from him, which is also from Chaitanya Mangala, which will be familiar to the followers of Srila Prabhupada. To comb through my notes here, let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. Probably everyone is familiar with this quote, but they might not remember who is responsible for it. But this is from Sri Locanadas Thakur from his Chaitanya Mangala. He writes, and he's describing the thoughts, the words of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya is thinking, taking the sharp sword of Nama Sankirtan, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and, giving up Dharma, go to far-off countries, my Senapati Bhakta will go there to deliver them. So this is understood to be a prophecy of the appearance of Srila Prabhupada. And that comes from Locanadas Thakur from his Chaitanya Mangala. What else can we say about him?
Thank you, Akaras Prabhu, for enlightening us and making us think of Acharya.
Yeah, I'll stop there. But thank you again for your class. Hare Krishna. And it's wonderful to see you again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for a very enlightening class. So with regards to Krishna's partiality, thank you for providing the explanation that Vidyabhushan, one of our acharyas, Paladev Vidyabhushan provides. Could you make the argument that partiality is inherent to the absolute truth? Because if there was no partiality, then Ananda would just be like the topmost Ananda would basically be Brahman realization. So, which is like homogeneous. And in one sense, you could say it could be static, but maybe its increase in potency could just be that, okay, it's increasing in quantity. But what makes Ananda is, or spiritual happiness, is that of the variety. And the variety, you can see that there's partiality. How Krishna reciprocates with devotees in conjugal love, devotees in parental love, friendship, servitude, and also friendship, neutrality. So could you make that argument?
So very nice. So thank you. So you use two words, variety and partiality. So one thing is we have to be on the same page with the definition of the partiality. Okay, what are we meaning when we use the word partiality? Because if we refer to an English meaning of the word partiality, it basically translates to giving favor to someone and ignoring someone, basically. Okay, that is our paradigm of our definition of the word called partiality or partial. Variety, on the other hand, means many kinds, like many displays. But if we are saying that in partiality is inherent to spirituality, then what is the definition of the partiality are you using? Variety is inherent to the spirituality, but is partiality because Krishna is favoring everybody there? He's favoring the devotees as they want to be favored. He's actually reciprocating with them in a relationship that has been established by the devotee first, and Krishna is just playing that role. Right? He's not defining how you want me. Devotee is defining, and Krishna is displaying it. So is it, yes, it's a variety, but is that a partiality? What is your definition? I'll have to understand. And then maybe we can have that discussion. Gari Krishna Prabhu. But on the other hand, what came to my mind was in Chaitanya, in Sikshashtakam prayer, in the first verse, when I think the altar is going to open now, when the Anandamayo, Anandambudhi Vardhanam, right? Anandambudhi Vardhanam means that Krishna, the spiritual happiness keeps increasing. Anandambudhi Vardhanam. So is that partial? Is that what you say? Okay, it was less before, but it keeps on increasing. Anandambudhi Vardhanam keeps on increasing. Is that partial? I don't think that's partial also, because there is happiness in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. It's not that there is a if the definition of partiality is I'm ignoring someone and I'm favoring someone, that's never the case, you see. It's just an increment in the same happiness. It goes on increasing. Am I making a point? Am I putting my mind out to you, Gari Krishna Prabhu? Good point. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I think we'll have a session now. Thank you, everyone. Ancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasinubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namah. Nantakoti Vaishnavin ki jai, Shabha ki jai. Hi Krishna. Hi Krishna, Kishori Mataji. Very nice to have you here as well.